Are you ready, Governor?
Did everyone in the room buy a ticket to my fundraiser? These funds are my funds, these funds aren't your funds. I get to spend them the way I want to, and you can pass all the bills you want because these funds were meant to be spent by me. These funds are my funds, these funds. I went walking past the people asking for money to feed their children. I walked right past them and gave out no bid for contracts. These funds were meant to be spent by me. These funds are my funds, these funds. I ignore outsiders, I don't like them. They did not donate to my election. I see business closing, that will teach them when you ask me to help them. I'll say you did not donate to me. These funds.
What do you want to do for the bridge?
I don't know. Do you have an empty hotel for rent? Or maybe some cheap golf carts you can sell me for twice the price. With business dying and owners crying and their workers on corners begging, who was over with people desperate and despondent. To the quickest, I give all rice checks. There's an election, I think I'll buy it. You'll never know until you try it. I'm not worried because I own the bank, and these funds were meant to be spent by me. These funds were meant to be spent by me.
Good morning. I'm Ken Leon Guerrero. Welcome to My Point of View. A little housekeeping note. Today at 5:30, there's going to be a meeting at the Guam Election Commission where the election commissioners are going to explain to us in detail how the voter initiative process that is guaranteed under the Organic Act of Guam applies only to certain things that politicians say they apply to. So it's going to be interesting to watch how they square that circle, because my understanding of the voter initiative is it's up to the voters to decide what we want to present, not politicians. But 5:30, tune in to Guam Election Commission on their live streaming, and let's see what the politicians think of our right to exercise our rights as citizens. Now on to today's show, which is the sign of the crab. I say that because this past week we had the post from Ginger Cruz where she equated anybody that criticizes the administration as a crab trying to hold our people down. Now, I have a problem with that. Hold our people down? Let's look back at the past actions of this administration. Who's holding who down? Remember the roadblocks, remember closing businesses, remember trying to introduce legislation to turn our people into vigilantes, looking over neighbors' fences to see if more than 5 people were gathered in a backyard. I think that's more of a crab-like behavior than reporting on the actions of our governor and legislators, than criticizing the action of our governor and legislators. And we have a lot to criticize. It goes back to the beginning of this administration. Even before that day. Hold on here. There we go. You see, in order to get elected governor, the governor had to run as a candidate. And as a candidate, she issued a 50-page document outlining the things that she would do if we gave her our trust through our votes. And one of the items that really is what I want to talk about today is this little item here, financial reform. As we know, we're going into the budget season here on Guam. It's very critical because remember, over the past 2 years, we have lost a substantial portion of our domestic tax base. Businesses have shut down. Those that haven't shut down are operating on reduced hours. And more importantly, a lot of the businesses that are still in existence are not as profitable as they once were because of inflation. So these businesses are getting caught between a rock and a hard place. Inflation and lack of profits on which they have to pay their taxes. So our businesses continue to struggle. Yet our governor, as a candidate, committed to on day one of our administration, we will conduct a full assessment of public assets, liabilities, revenues, operational expenses. We will aggressively pursue a policy of cost reduction. I haven't seen any efforts at cost reduction over the past 3 years. Have any of you seen it? Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, anyway, coupled with a priority effort to reduce and eliminate all major audit exceptions. We will work for the full utilization of federal grant monies and expedite disbursement of bond proceeds earmarked for capital processes. Well, we haven't seen anything like that happen since the start of this administration, which would have been the time to do that. And then on page 10 of this document, she commits that our administration will ensure vigorous enforcement of all taxes before considering or imposing any tax increases, including a sales tax. A full assessment of any tax increase shall be made regarding its impact on the community and Guam's competitiveness as a tourist destination. All through her campaign against Ray Tenorio, she campaigned on the fact that had she been governor instead of Calvo, she would have done such a good job collecting the $190 million of taxes that were due government of Guam that the 5% tax increase would not have been necessary, that the 1% the 1% on million or more buildings would not have been necessary, and that the fuel tax increase would not have been necessary. She's been governor for 3 years, and yet she deems those taxes now are more necessary than ever before. Let's run the first clip.
I know for a fact that there's $190 million in uncollected taxes. Why can't we first use our resources to collect those taxes? That's $190 million. If you're saying $67 million is decrease in the general fund, well, you're also losing $190 million because you're not collecting that. So in our administration, we're going to really, first thing I'm going to do is really take Department of Revenue and Tax. I'm going to go to their collections division, and I'm going to support those people that are working to collect. I'm going to organize it so that, hey, you here have a division. Your division is going to be just looking at real estate taxes. Your division is just going to be looking at commercial taxes. Your division is just going to be looking at income taxes. Your division is just going to be looking at businesses. You know, organize it that way so there's like a structured way of tracking these. And we're not enforcing, I hear out there that there's millions of dollars lost in uncollected business taxes from homes that are being used for bread and breakfast places, right? That's another one. I'm hearing that tobacco taxes aren't being really enforced. I'm hearing a lot of these tax revenues that are not being enforced and are not being captured. So I think that's where we should really focus on and get our resources and get the people and give them the technology I always believe that in order to make money, you have to spend some. And I don't have a problem realigning people over there. I don't have a problem realigning our resources there, because for every person, if they can collect $5-10 million, that's worth it.
That's candidate Lou Leon Guerrero back when she was just starting to run her official campaign for the office of governor. I did that interview with her and all the other candidates. I believe we had, we had Carl Gutierrez, we had Lou Leon Guerrero, we had Dennis Rodriguez, we had Frank Uggan. So we had 4. I interviewed all the gubernatorial candidates. That's an excerpt from the interview I did with candidate Lou Leon Guerrero. And yet, in spite of her hearing all those things, she hasn't really done anything about it. I mean, right now, the OPA is reporting that we are losing, over the shoulder now. The OPA report shows that we're losing $10 million a year in uncollected tobacco taxes. And there was a report done by the Inspector General. No, it wasn't Inspector General. The Federal Government Office of Inspector General, pointing out the government of Guam sucked at collecting taxes, business privilege taxes and corporate taxes of contractors here on Guam working on military projects. That hasn't changed. And all the time she was talking about needing to upgrade our technology so we can do a better job at collecting taxes, which was going to cost about $20 million to buy the new computer systems and get them installed at Department of Administration and Revenue and Taxation. But what did she spend $20 million on? She sent $20 million to Guam Visitors Bureau. So instead of improving the tools needed to collect our taxes, she sent $20 million off to Guam Visitors Bureau. And that's not going to do anything to help us account for our taxes. And it's an important thing to do, because right now we're finishing the year with $100 million more than was budgeted for 2022. And you would think that based on that, the governor would say, okay, we're overtaxing our people of Guam. Let's take that $100 million and put it back in their pockets. Let them pay their bills. Let them fight inflation with their own money. Let them use this $100 million to afford the food that's gone up between 25 and 50%. Let them use this money to be able to pay their power bills that are going up by $150 to $200 a month. Let them use this $100 million to pay the rent so that they don't end up living on the street. Did she do that? No. No, she didn't. She's decided she's going to keep it. She trumpets at every opportunity how much money. In fact, we get a press release almost every week since she's been a governor announcing how much tax refunds have been paid. But you know what we haven't seen? How much taxes have been collected. In fact, when I did a search of media, I could only find 2 stories over the past 3.5 years where delinquent taxes have been collected. 2 small businesses paid back taxes, and we got $1 million in taxes when a hotel was sold, so they used part of the proceeds to pay off their tax lien. But in the meantime, the governor takes pride in the fact that her signatures on back-to-back billion-dollar budgets. The 2022 budget came in at $954 million, $937 million on the 2022 budget, and $937 million or whatever, 900, I can't even read it. Anyway, $950 million on the 2021 budget. So when we look back at 2020, that was the year that changed everything. 2020 was the year the government of Guam had an opportunity to do a lot of things to improve the quality of life using billions of dollars of expected federal funds that were sent here to protect the people of Guam and improve our quality of life. She could have done a lot of things, but instead she shut down the economy, destroyed many, many, many small businesses, and has driven hundreds of families off the island in search of better income. And at the same time, what she's done is she's destroyed the sustainable local tax base. In other words, she has made it to the point where she has to, or future governors are going to have to depend upon the largesse of the federal government. She maintains our finances are improving. I don't see how. I can drive down Marine Corps Drive, drive through Harmon, and look at all the empty storefronts and know those businesses are gone forever. They're never coming back. And I know hundreds of people have left. In fact, another one of my relatives is leaving on a jet plane, taking his high skill set with him to another location where he will have an opportunity to earn a better income and live a better quality of life than he can right here on Guam. And I don't blame him. You see, when the governor is collecting this amount of money, it's coming out of our pockets. Remember, the government doesn't collect taxes. We pay taxes. And who pays those taxes? Less than 40,000 households. And those 40,000 households have a combined income, 80% of them have a combined income of less than $50,000 a year. And it's gotten to the point with the double-digit inflation every month that more and more of these families are falling into poverty, and yet the governor is not doing anything to take care of the people, preferring instead to hand out a whole slew of pay raises by executive order at the last minute. Now, when I say at the last minute, yes, our first responders deserve raises and have for a long time. Yes, our nurses and healthcare people deserve raises and have for a long time. And teachers deserve raises and have for a long time. She campaigned to get them. That's one of the few campaign promises she kept. But she could have done it 2.5 years ago when she got hundreds of millions of dollars of federal funding. And she could have worked with the legislature to make sure that those pay raises stay intact regardless of who the next governor is. But she didn't do that because she wanted all the credit at the most critical time, just before the primary election. Run clip 2, please.
I come here tonight to address the honorable members of the House and to speak directly to the people who sent us here. When I first addressed you 3 years ago, I fully understood the job you elected Josh and me to do. For too long, leaders from both parties had perpetuated an era that valued short-term popularity over long-term solutions, a time that failed to look beyond the next paycheck or the next election. And so, predictably, our government's deficit exploded and tough decisions were left for some other day. But our people demanded change, and they trusted us to deliver. In the face of immense challenge, the government's deficit is gone. Tax refunds are being paid in weeks, not months. And none of this was achieved by leaving more debt to our children.
I find it so ironic that the governor has taken a victory lap in her State of the Island address over doing the things she was required to do by law. And I was really struck by the fact that she was accusing other administrations of doing the exact same thing, playing politics with the taxpayers' money that she is doing with the CARES Act money and later with the American Rescue Plan money. You see, she wouldn't have the ability to do that victory lap if it hadn't been for the fact that over the past 2.5 years, nearly $8 billion of federal funds has been dropped into our island. And that 5% business privilege tax was really, really an accelerator that gave her that $100 million surplus after paying $89 million deficit to play with. So here we are, the executive budget requests for 2023. And right now our politicians are sitting there in the legislature listening to the endless parade of ad loop officials coming before them telling them, we need more money. We need more money. Well, you know what you don't hear them doing? You don't hear that endless parade of politicians going before the legislature saying, here is where we can cut. Here is where we can ease the burden on our taxpayers. Here's where we can provide great service at a reduced cost and make it easier for our taxpayers to put food on the table, pay their utility bills, and keep a roof over their head. We don't hear anything like that. Instead, what we hear is the supporters of the administration coming forward, claiming, once again, that anybody who criticizes this administration is holding back the people of Guam. Obviously, Ginger Cruz didn't have to wait in line on Machechi Hill for hours and hours to fill out an application to get her all-rise check. And I guarantee you that Ginger Cruz didn't go and park in one of the lines at food distribution centers at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, hoping, praying that she would get to the front of the line before they ran out of food. Yet, anytime there's any criticism, and in this case, a lot of criticism around the governor's plan to spend about $3 billion. Now, she doesn't say that. She talks about building a new hospital, and it's going to cost about $1 billion. But what she's not telling us is that it's also going to cost about $1 billion to do the rest of her plan, which is a new behavioral wellness center and a nursing school and a new CBOC, a vet clinic. So altogether, she's doing this $3 billion proposal, and she's going to use that $300 million as a down payment when that $300 million could be used now for the benefit of the people now, not for the benefit of the people 10 years from now when we will be in an entirely different situation. It's sad that, and I'm sure Ginger's going to disagree with this, the fact that this governor is so uncommunicative about her plans for the people of Guam and what she plans to do with that $300 million that I have to go to court to get her to provide the information that she is required to by law, and which to date she has not provided to me. On the 19th, she will have to respond to the court and tell the court why a taxpayer and a citizen is not eligible to receive the secret information she has on her spending plan for that $300 million of taxpayer money. Now, Ginger is a hired gun. She was brought out here from San Diego, and she's a good hired gun. You don't want to hire a bad hired gun. So I'll give her credit, she's a good hired gun, but she's not up to the task set before her by this governor, because the governor in her victory lap on the State of Congress address issued a challenge to the media that she will take every opportunity to speak to anybody and promote why she should get 4 more years. To which I responded and requested to meet with her to discuss her campaign proposals, her public health care proposals, as I did back in 2018, as you saw earlier on the video, and I still have not received a response. So how do we describe this? I mean, how do we look at a candidate that says that she is a leader of the people, but she doesn't like the people? Because if she liked the people, she would welcome, as she says right here in this letter, every opportunity to put forth her campaign. And here it is, 3 weeks later, and still not a peep, which is in line. She only speaks before the choir of the confirmed loyalist. If I had an all-in shirt, maybe, but obviously, as you know, since 2018, I'm all out. But still, she was elected governor of all the people, not just the people who wear wear all-in t-shirts. And as a public servant, she has an obligation to meet with any and all who have legitimate concerns and questions. But that's for another day. The only time we're going to hear from her is when we get closer to the primary election. So everybody that's watching this video right now, if you want to put the politicians on notice that we're not going to be fooled again, go and vote early. As the number of people voting early climbs, that's the one thing that will put the fear in professional politicians. Because the last thing that professional politicians want is to see record voter turnout, because they know low voter turnout favors incumbents, high voter turnout favors challengers. If you're not sure if you're registered to vote or not, call the Guam Election Commission, 477-9791, or go online to gec.guam.gov and you can check if you're registered. And if you're not, you can register online. So I encourage you to go register if you're not registered. Register in person at Fahrenholt or at the mayor's offices, or you can register online. Go and vote early, because the more we vote, the better our government gets. And I would like to congratulate the viewers out there right now, because like you, many of you are concerned about hearing many different points of view. And as you know, here on Candid, we have many different points of view. We have crossed the 50,000 follower mark right now. So we know right now that your strength as individuals is helping us get many diverse points of view out there, so that you as Candid followers can hear the kinds of information that are being suppressed by the crabs. I'm Ken Leon Guerrero. This is my point of view, and I wear my crab badge proudly.